the robotics industry has always clearly said safety first.
We are incidentally sitting with two of the best people that can possibly comment on the new machinery directive. Would you like to share some thoughts there? Because it's a big change.
Yeah, I mean, I was, as the founder of Universal Robots, we were like heavily involved in discussing what's okay and what's not okay with robotics. So I had a lot of talks also here in Germany with the Institute for Arbeitssicherheit. We were working with to try to figure out what's okay and what's not okay with current machinery directive and current robotic standards. So I know a lot about the history there. The robotic standards, all the safety standards I would add, came from, you can say, the good old days where people lost arms and fingers in the sawmill industry. And clearly that was not politically acceptable or acceptable in any way. So there were a lot of standards that tried to implement safety in these. And these standards started with, this saw is okay, this saw is not okay. Slowly they started moving into what is we want. We want people to be safe and so on. So the safety standards have been on a journey from prohibiting technology to kind of saying the political intention. And I think there is a risk that we do the same mistake again with the new machine directive in combination with the new AI directive, that we again prohibit certain technologies which will destroy all innovation and progress, instead of saying what we actually want to do with these technologies, where we actually want Europe to be, which is, of course, we don't want people to lose their identity on the internet, and we don't want robots to take over the world with, red diodes and evil-looking eyes. So the politicians should be very worried about not damaging the potential we have for robotics here in Europe, in my opinion. So that's an interesting, you can say, next few years we're going into, because it's a little bit like make or break that's coming up right now from a political point of view. And sorry for talking so much. I might add that the combination of the new machine directive and the AI directive is really damaging, because the machine directive says that anything with AI in it is dangerous by definition. And then the AI directive says more or less anything with software in it, or anything that has used logic or statistics or anything like that to make the product is AI. And then that just means any machine with software in it is dangerous by definition. And that's really going to damage progress and innovation in Europe if this goes through.
I completely agree. I mean, we really have to strike a balance. One thing is clear. The robotics industry has always clearly said safety first. So it has engaged in worldwide global standardization effort with a lot of work to regulate the safety for robots. And I think this is done very well. The machinery directive worked well, I think, was good. Yeah, and now there's all this concern that we have a lot of risks. I'm not sure whether that is good, because we want to protect fundamental rights in Europe. The rights not to be discriminated against, yes? And does that mean we cannot use machine vision technology and the service robotic industry? I mean, we need cameras, and we have to deal with it in a way so that we don't damage any individual or fundamental rights of people, and that we can safeguard the safety of people working with machines or interacting with service robots, very important. But to put all this into a new machinery directive, I think it's going to be called machine product regulation in Europe. I think they put too much in it. It's going to be a bureaucratic thing. It's going to be very costly for companies that innovate. And eventually I am afraid that this might hamper innovation. And we are in a direct race, in a direct competition with China and America. And I think we are ill-advised to take this to the extreme. Safety first, but that has always been done by the robotics industry itself.
And actually the existing machine directive is, in my opinion, already pretty good. It actually covers what we want to prevent. I mean, we don't want robots to go crazy and start killing people, of course. And that is pretty well covered in the existing machinery directive. You cannot, you can say, put the evil kind of AI into a robot and then make that into a safety function in the robot. That's not possible with the existing standards. So why do we need new standards? And it's a little bit like a political thing, probably. And of course, it's dangerous with AI as such. But what is it people are afraid of? And it's, of course, you can say the Hollywood version of AI, which is Skynet and all these things, which is truly not what we want, but it's also not, we're not getting close to that either. So the real danger here is more that we are overcautious about what we don't want than we actually look at what we have and what works and then just work on refining that or maybe even enforcing that some more, because according to a study that was done by EU, it's actually not the machinery directive currently that's the problem, it's the lack of control over that directive, and nobody's really checking up if all products comply with that directive. And that would be a more obvious first step to take to make sure that all the products we use in Europe comply with these existing directives.
2 points that the VDMA has made in a recent position on the new machinery directive and AI Act that's going to be discussed in the next year or so in Europe, is that yes, we want harmonized regulation. So I think it is economical, it is conducive to business, to companies when they have in all of the EU one regulation and they don't have to have 20, 25 different types of regulations. So that's good in principle. Yeah. But the other point is don't regulate what has been regulated already. Yeah, that might be just overzealous, and I think it's we really have to make sure that we don't stifle innovation. We can't afford that, and we don't want it.
And the result will be that you can say products from non-regulated parts of the world will come in because they're the only ones who actually do the job. Because we can't make products that comply with the regulation and also do the job if we make it too hard for ourselves. And
that's very interesting. Can we spend a minute talking about what is the cost to Europe when we strive for innovation with some directives like this? What is the cost to society?
Well, in some impact assessment, they were that talked about trustworthy AI, and that's very much linked to embodied AI, like embodied in a robot, which is a mechanical device. They were looking into, they basically said, we will win the AI race if we manage to create a European brand of trustworthy AI. So it's, of course it's good if AI and robots are trustworthy. That's what we all want, obviously. Nobody would disagree, yeah? But the notion to say we have to create regulation after regulation to make sure that AI is trustworthy, and then people will realize that this is the best AI, and they will choose the trustworthy AI rather than the AI that comes from China or the US. And I think that's not realistic. We've seen that people will just accept the conditions and terms when they're on their mobile phone, and I think the user will choose what has the best user experience. Yeah, and
what does the job
I
best?
do it
Yeah,
too,
of course,
and so I think they in that paper they also calculated the cost of the regulation for a company. It could be thousands and thousands of euros. It could be like 7,000 euros to do all the paperwork and all the regulations. But we have robots now out on the market, complete robot systems for 10,000 euros. And if that is just not working, yeah, I think.